Dear friends, colleagues, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the closing ceremony of the People's Global Summit. My name is Paul Ladd and I'm the Director of the United Nations Research Institute for Social Development, or UNRISD. UNRISD is one of the partners and co-facilitators of the summit, and we've been working behind the scenes to design the summit and encourage a huge array of diverse contributions from organizations, communities, and individuals from all over the world. And what a journey it's been. And what a wonderfully inspiring set of contributions you and others have made. Thank you very, very much. We're going to commence this closing ceremony with some remarks from Rebecca Grinspan. Rebecca has recently taken up the role of Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, or UNCTAD, an organization that works hard to ensure that trade is fairer between countries, for all communities, and for all women and men. She knows the United Nations very well, having worked for a long time in the part of the UN, UNDP, the development program, that has offices in most countries around the world. Her knowledge and experience of inclusive and sustainable development at all levels, from the global stage to local villages, is hard to match. Not least because she's also been the Vice President of Costa Rica and the head of the Organization of Ibero-American States. All of this together gives her a unique insight into how to get things done, how politics works, and how power shifts. I hope you enjoy and are inspired by what she has to say.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is my honor to close this People's Global Summit. I want to congratulate the organizers for a very successful meeting and to thank all of those who participated from all walks of life, from all over the world. At the opening of this summit, Secretary General Guterres highlighted the many challenges we face today. Horrendous war, pandemics, food insecurity and hunger, rising energy poverty, political instability, climate change, droughts and debt distress. In the last 5 days, you, the people, have addressed these challenges, facing them with clear ideas, new perspectives, and an unrelenting commitment to the future. We have heard from artists, we have heard from students, we have heard from indigenous women, we have heard from social workers, we have heard from public health officers, from social security administrators, from those who work in the green economy. In summary, we have heard from those at the front lines of the impact and at the front lines of the solution. We have traveled to the fields where the battle for a better future is being waged. And we have seen that despite the difficult circumstances, people are not giving up. The theme of this global summit, co-building a new eco-social world, leaving no one behind, could not be more pertinent. The United Nations is committed to being part of this building process. Our biggest contribution is our common roadmap, the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development. In the last 2 years, meeting the goals of the 2030 Agenda, unfortunately, has become more difficult. But we must not waver. We have not gotten this far to only get this far. The road has winded, but the destination remains the same. Indeed, it is now clearer than ever why we need a more sustainable and inclusive world, a more eco-social world, because the alternative simply does not work. When 15, 20 years of progress are wiped out in the span of 6 months, as we saw in 2020 with the pandemic, in so many key social metrics, what this shows is that we were calling development something that simply wasn't. Only when we develop inclusively and sustainably can progress really be called progress. Everything else is just a mirage, a vision of the present at the expense of the future. Dear friends, the world is going through very testing times, but we must all feel empowered by the recognition that there is much each of us can do to help. We have seen that here in the amazing summit. Let's join forces and continue. The future is a common responsibility. So I thank you all for being here.
So we heard from Rebecca Greenspan that you, the people, have contributed new perspectives and clear ideas and have done so with unrelenting commitment. She recognised that the participants in the summit are both the community front lines of impact, but also the front lines of solutions in social work, health, education, youth groups, trade unions, and everyone else. Those who day in and day out seek to leave no one behind. And echoing the Secretary General of the UN who opened the People's Global Summit, she said that the United Nations is committed to be part of the building process for a new eco-social world. And UNRIS too, as a part of the UN system, will be a partner in supporting you and helping you facilitate the creation of this new world. Now, the UN's guiding contribution is the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And Rebecca said that although the path to achieving the agenda has become more difficult because of the multiple fractures and crises that we face, the destination remains the same, a more sustainable and inclusive world. So thank you, Rebecca, for your support. I'm now going to pass to the co-facilitators for the remainder of this session, Rory Trull and Najma Mohammed, who will describe how you as participants have helped to shape a People's Charter as a key outcome of this summit. And equally importantly, to hold a conversation on what we can do together next. But over to you, Rory and Najma.
Thank you, Paul. So this session brings a close to the summit, but opens a new beginning to co-build the sustainability of our world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone assembled here. We're delighted to report that we, all of us who have contributed to the summit, now have a new People's Charter for an eco-social world. Good morning, Rory.
Good morning, Najma. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. This charter has been co-built by many voices. We have heard from communities in Sierra Leone, for example, the 5th poorest country in the world, from community leaders who have contributed that this charter acknowledges our leaderful communities as key actors in global and local interdependency for sustainable development. They have said, we now have hope that we can develop new levels of cooperation that will make a reality of the pledges historically made by the world's leaders. Back to you, Najma.
From the Scottish Government, Richard Lockhead, the Minister for Just Transitions, Employment and Fair Work, we heard of the need for elected politicians to listen and involve communities in between elections in how public spending happens. He highlighted the need to co-design and co-build with local communities as we transition from coal mining to new industries for the current workforce. He called for investment in education and work transitions for young people. And he argued that there is a need for international co-learning and co-building sustainability across national borders as old ways become obsolete and new pathways emerge and are created.
From civil society, we've had leaders such as Kumi Nadu from South Africa, who contributed examples of how we can work together creatively to inspire change and transformation. He talked of the very small window of time where there is a global appetite for structural change. The power of people will be realized, he suggested, when our friends, families, and our neighborhoods take ownership of this living charter. The energy of this was also echoed throughout the summit and strongly emphasized by youth and student contributions.
So in the opening summit, Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, recognized that humanity is facing acute and existential challenges, but he said that we, the people, are being let down by the world's leaders. He stressed the importance of international solidarity to not only speak about our challenges, but to demand engagement between local and global leaders and civil society so that together we can achieve an eco-social world.
This charter, which comprises voices from throughout the world, highlights the importance of participatory democracy in effecting transformational change. It further identifies new methodologies for economic reform, from measuring economies by profit to sustainable well-being societies, which are already being transitioned by some governments. The public service professions recognised this will require policy and practice shifts from crisis reaction to investment for sustainable shared futures and co-building social and environmental protection through preventative planning. And the global green movement highlighted the importance of interlinking environmental concern with social justice, ecosystems, and participatory democracy.
The People's Charter, thank you, Rory. The People's Charter for a New Eco-Social World will be delivered to the United Nations High-Level Political Forum in July 2022 and will create a catalyst for further global action. But as we said, the closing of the summit brings a new beginning where we continue to amplify our efforts to co-build a new eco-social world.
We will all find the charter, which has just been released, on the summit website. Remember, this is a living document for all your networks and your communities to work with, to make a reality of, and to show the strength that we have as people of the world.
This is now a time, a moment of celebration for all of our work, all of our effort throughout these 4 days, and to thank everyone who has contributed. The 26 global bodies that initiated the summit, the speakers and contributors who consulted their networks and communities, the summit secretariat that has been working tirelessly to make this happen, the program committee, the communications team that has met in the months running up to the 4 days of the summit, and the translators and individuals behind the scenes who have prepared the documentation, the press releases and outcomes of the summit. A warm thank you to everyone that made these 4 days possible.
A huge thank you to all of those people. All of us have made this commitment and started a new era that gives us all hope and action. We will meet again. Plans are already being developed for future gatherings as we continue to co-build our partnerships within communities, within societies, and across borders. The aim is to continue globally transitioning our ways of living and working towards an eco-social world. Information will continue to be shared on the website to keep us all updated on what is happening and how we can all continue to be active in this global mass movement.
On behalf of all involved in this summit, we look forward to seeing you at the next summit and in all the activities between now, then, and in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.